This is the story of Jurassic World's Mosasaurus, full of death, decay, tragedy, with the complete timeline. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So everybody knows the Mosasaurus as a complete killing machine, and it started its journey in Jurassic World back in 2015. And the Mosasaurus lived in a 3-gallon pool of water located near Main Street in Jurassic World, called Jurassic World Lagoon. But this is where our story starts. You have to remember the Mosasaurus is one of the biggest creatures we've ever seen in Jurassic World, and is an absolute ruthless killing machine with the highest bite force out of any of the predators in Jurassic World, with a bite force even stronger than the T-Rex. Now this is where the story starts for our Mosasaurus, and all the kills and everything, the death, decay starts to begin. Now with the fall of Jurassic World comes the Mosasaurus. Now the Mosasaurus was obviously trapped in this lagoon when Jurassic Park eventually fell, and it eventually eats the remainder of Zack and Gray in Jurassic World along with the Pteranodon, because they fall in to the Mosasaurus lagoon and it eats them whole, no prisoners, completely swallowed. But the Mosasaurus doesn't stop there. Like I said, we're only just getting started. So we all know Jurassic World, and we all know what happens to the Indominus. So the Mosasaurus is there swimming in his pool, and it's obviously observing the Indominus fighting Blue and the T-Rex. And when that Indominus comes close to the Mosasaurus lagoon, the Mosasaurus jumps out, grabs the Indominus by the neck with his huge jaws and drags it under the water. And what force it must take just to do that alone, because the Indominus was absolutely huge, but the Mosasaurus had no problem grabbing it and dragging it down to the bottom of the lagoon, so it was feasted upon by the Mosasaurus. Now the story doesn't stop there. After the events of dragging the Indominus down, it's presumed maybe a day later, the campers of Camp Cretaceous come into contact with the Mosasaurus, because they actually kayak into the Mosasaurus lagoon by mistake and actually see the Mosasaurus there. At this point, the Indominus Rex is already below the surface and is probably still decaying. The Mosasaurus chases the campers but doesn't manage to get them. The campers escape, and thus they leave the Mosasaurus in the Mosasaurus pool without any other additional food until the start of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which is roughly 3 to 6 months in the future. So that Mosasaurus was in the Mosasaurus pool without any food, although it did have the Indominus Rex corpse. Now at the start of Fallen Kingdom, it is presumed that the Mosasaurus was actually dead, and the people who then go to recover the Indominus Rex remains actually encountered the Mosasaurus, and the Mosasaurus, being the Mosasaurus, eats the entire submarine whole. And again, this is the start of the Mosasaurus journey, because when they enter the Mosasaurus lagoon to get the Indominus Rex remains, they actually leave the gate open, and thus the Mosasaurus escapes into the open world, but not before destroying a helicopter and a man on the helicopter rope, which is absolutely insane. And what a scene that is, where you see the Mosasaurus jump out, latch, eat this man, and bring the helicopter down. Now with this scene over, the Mosasaurus has now escaped out into the open ocean and out into the big bad world, and this is where the fun starts. We next see the Mosasaurus out in the open ocean attacking the group of Camp Cretaceous on a boat, believe it or not. So the campers have actually left Isla Nublar. They're on a boat when the sonar picks up a huge blip, and this blip is the Mosasaurus. So the Mosasaurus actually attacks a full-on boat, and you actually see how big this Mosasaurus really is. It completely destroys the boat by landing on top of it by doing a huge jump, destroying this boat and leaving the campers stranded. It then swims back out into the ocean, and you then again see it at the end of Fallen Kingdom, which is 2018. So it's presumed that it's been out in the ocean hunting sharks, hunting prey for a good 2 years, because you next see its appearance at the end of 2018, where it looks like it's about to eat surface off the coast of Hawaii, and that's when we see it there, and that is a huge scene. It's actually now starting to hunt real life humans out in the wild. I, for one, would definitely not want to be one of them surfers. So it's gone from being completely abandoned in Jurassic World for months on end, left without food, was lucky enough to be able to escape, and thank God it did, because it would have been left in the Mosasaurus lagoon to die without any food, which would have been a complete tragedy. And now, at this point in the story, it's now 2018, it is unleashed on the world, and we're making our way to Dominion, which is the events of 2022. So you might be thinking, what is happening to the Mosasaurus between 2018 and 2022? Now, we do see the Mosasaurus again before the events of Jurassic World Dominion. We see the Mosasaurus during the short movie battle at Big Rock, where we see it actually attacking a great white shark out in the ocean, because the great white shark is about to eat a seal, and then the Mosasaurus comes itself and kills the great white shark. So this Mosasaurus is racking up kill counts already, again, which is around 2018. So the next time we then see the Mosasaurus is 2022, and that is the events of Jurassic World Dominion. So that 4-year gap is presumed that Mosasaurus is out there in the Pacific Ocean, killing wildlife, attacking humans, and finding its own prey. So in 2022, the Department of Prehistoric Wildlife has confirmed the sightings of the Mosasaurus somewhere in the Pacific Ocean near San Francisco in Seattle. The corals of Hawaii, Japan, Alaska is got completely around the world, New Zealand, where it's teamed up with a pod of orcas to target great white sharks. Now, it's suggested that the Mosasaurus may enjoy the company of other Cretaceans, as it is willing to work with them to hunt the same prey that kill and eat the orcas. So the Mosasaurus in this timeline at 2022 is currently following its main prey, the great white shark, across its migration routes. Now, in the start of the film in Dominion, you actually see the Mosasaurus attacking a crab fishing boat named the Saga in order to steal the crabs out of the baited traps, causing the boat to overturn, and thus the Mosasaurus eating the injured crew. So for that gap of 4 years from Fallen Kingdom to 2022, it's presumed that the Mosasaurus was actually working with the orcas to eat them great white sharks, and it just seems like it's a bit of a nasty coincidence that it attacked that boat at the beginning of 2022 in Dominion, killing the crew as well. The Mosasaurus up to this point lived a relatively peaceful life, trying to live its life as any natural predator would, where it was kept in confinement much like orcas are in the real world and were with SeaWorld, etc. The Mosasaurus was kept similar to that in Jurassic World, which is very cruel in my eyes, and then was later going to be left abandoned without any source of food to rot away in that horrible Jurassic World lagoon. Luckily enough, escaped, and now is surviving in the real world. And the last port of call where we see the Mosasaurus is actually really heartwarming and brings the Mosasaurus story to a lovely conclusion and full circle. So it is now the end of Dominion, which is probably the end of 2022, and again we see that Mosasaurus and we see it out in the ocean socializing with a pod of whales, which is absolutely fantastic to see and looks like something from a National Geographic documentary, which shows the Mosasaurus is now living peacefully out in the ocean with other species and has found its place in the food chain, which is clearly the top of the food chain for the Mosasaurus. After killing the Indominus, after killing every other kind of creatures, the great white shark, which is the apex predator of the ocean, the Mosasaurus has now become the apex predator of our oceans in the real world. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. This is a complete story of the Mosasaurus. Check out my other stories, the Spinosaurus story, the Baryonyx story. They're all on there. Go check them out now. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye bye.